for its unwavering dedication to advancing gender equality and the empowerment of women within the Women, Peace and Security agenda. A commitment that continues to serve as a beacon for the region. Your leadership, Your Excellency, exemplifies how integrating women into peace and security processes strengthens the foundations for lasting peace. We also welcome with great warmth the representatives of governments and civil society organizations from across the regions that have been warmly welcomed by the Secretary General, so I will not repeat the countries. Your presence reaffirms the importance of regional solidarity. We are also honored to be joined by representatives of regional economic communities, including IGAD, the East African Community, and the ICGLR, and colleagues who are with us today. Chief guest, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today, the regional peace and security landscape is marked by evolving and increasingly complex threats. We are seeing more and more countries erupting into armed conflict, violent extremism, climate-induced instability, and prolonged displacement. It is within this context that the Women, Peace and Security agenda becomes even more critical. As we mark the 24th anniversary of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, we are reminded of the profound shift in our understanding of the gendered dimensions of conflict. This resolution highlights not only the disproportionate impact of conflict and displacement on women and girls, but also the invaluable roles that they play in peace building, in conflict prevention, and post-conflict recovery. Women, ladies and gentlemen, are not passive victims of conflict. They are agents of change. They are leaders in community resilience, and they are critical stakeholders in creating lasting peace. Yet, despite the progress that has been made, significant challenges remain. Women continue to be systematically excluded from the traditionally male-dominated spaces of peace processes and security structures. This exclusion is not due to a lack or knowledge. It is due to entrenched structural and systemic barriers that continue to keep women out of these spaces. Compelling evidence, including from UN Women, demonstrates that when women are meaningfully involved in peace negotiations, the likelihood of peace agreements increases by a whole 35% and above. From a global perspective, the link between gender equality and peace is clearly articulated in the Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 5 on gender equality and goal 16 on promoting peaceful and inclusive societies are fundamentally intertwined. There can be no peace without gender equality and no sustainable development without both. So as we look toward to the future, the global agenda on gender equality is gaining momentum, with the Pact for the Future underscoring the centrality of women's role in peace and security. As we also approach the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and the Beijing Platform for Action, we are presented with historic opportunity to advance the commitments made through generation equality by mobilizing partnerships for gender equality, particularly through the Women, Peace and Security and Humanitarian Action Compact. Ladies and gentlemen, as I end, moving forward, we must forge a joint path that places women's rights, their participation and their leadership at the heart of all peace-building efforts. These platforms opportunity to document successes and exchange lessons learned as we address some of the most pressing challenges to peace and security in our region. Over the next 2 days, we will engage in rich discussions in topics that are ranging from the National Action Plans on 1325 to youth and women's participation in mediation and peacekeeping, and the emerging threats that are posed by armed conflict, climate change, violent extremism, and displacement. So I really look forward to a very engaging 2 days where we will share our experiences, where we will share what is working and the challenges that continue to remain in our way, but also how we. Finally, as UN Women, with support from all our development partners and civil society organizations, the partners that are working with us, we strive together towards gender equality and empowerment of women. I wish you all fruitful deliberations and look forward to the valuable insights that will come from this symposium. Asanteni sana.
Let's give another round of applause. Yeah, thank you very much. Now allow me at this point to recognize representatives from South Sudan. Kindly stand up and wave. South Sudan. Thank you very much. And not to mention, have come from various countries across the country. Karibuni sana, you're not forgotten. Now, at this point, we're going to invite Mr. Makoto Shinkawa, Country Representative for JICA, Kenya office. Welcome. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes.
Your Excellency, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretaries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed colleagues, good morning. Habari za asubuhi. Ninaongea na Kiswahili vizuri, lakini wacha ni kuongea na Kiingereza kidogo leo, kwa sababu unajua watu wengi wanakuja kutoka from the all over the Africas. Yeah. On behalf of Japan International Cooperation Agency, I'm deeply honored to join you in this opportunity to have a dialogue of women, peace, and security in this East and Southern African regions. Thank you. Okay. At JICA, we are really proud in our mandate to implement Japan's Official Development Assistance, ODA, based on the concept of human security as the guiding principle for all our operations. The human securities essentially advocate a people-centered approach to ensure the right of all the people to live with dignity, free from fear. And our goal of human security is deeply connected with women, peace, and security agenda. We believe that to achieve human security, we must embrace gender equalities and diversity in all aspects of our work. For more than 30 years, JICA have been committed to promoting gender equalities and women's empowerment with our partners countries. Japan itself is frequently damaged by the natural disaster, such as tsunamis, earthquake, and typhoon, as you know. Through our experience of recovery from the disasters, we have learned valuable lessons that women should play a central role in the disaster response and recovery process. For example, if women manage the evacuation shelters, they can address the need of women and vulnerable people more effectively. We assure that the reconstruction more quickly and become resilient when women are involved in the recovery process. Next year, 2025, we plan to host the Tokyo International Conference Conference of African Development is called the TICAD 9 in August in Yokohama, Japan. I am certain that the WPS agenda will be the one of the center topics of these discussions. I hope that today's discussion provides important insight that we can carry forward into the TICAD 9, and the outcome of this seminar contribute to shape future policies and partnership in Africa. In conclusion, I would like to express my deep gratitude to all of you for your participation in these seminars. Your expertise and commitment are crucial to advancing the WPS agenda and look forward to fruitful discussions. Let us work together to create a world where women's peace and security are ensured and where everyone can live with dignity and safety. Thank you very much. Asante.
Thank you very much. At this point, we call upon Ambassador Katrina, the Ambassador for Ireland to Kenya. Please let's welcome her with a round of applause. Karibu.
Great, thank you. Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Principal Secretary, UN and diplomatic colleagues. In the Irish language, we have a phrase, Ahuina Ushla, which means noble people, and it covers everybody, but I think it's our equivalent of all protocols observed. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the organisers of this important forum for bringing us together as we mark the 24th anniversary of Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security. We're at a pivotal moment for peace and security globally and regionally, and conversations about the role that women can, do and must play are of crucial importance for our shared future. For our part, Ireland is proud to be a long-standing partner of UN Women and to be a signatory of the Compact. During our recent membership of the UN Security Council, a tenure that we very proudly shared with Kenya, women, peace and security and promoting that agenda was one of our key priorities. We took the role of co-chair of the Security Council's informal expert group on WPS, and together with Kenya and Mexico, we formed the WPS Shared Commitments Treaty. This involved developing and committing to a set of actions, including pursuing invited to Council and ensuring that WPS was incorporated into country-specific discussions, for example, on Somalia. More broadly, Ireland ourselves, we're currently implementing our third National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security. And the plan is very much aligned to our broader policy on international development, which is called A Better World, and which includes gender equality as one of 4 priorities. And I think, probably like Kenya, with each iteration of the National Action Plan, we're learning and we're trying to improve. We know that words and promises and policies are not enough by themselves. We have to remain focused on driving forward on implementation of these plans and policies to ensure positive impact and real change on the ground. Our third action plan was based on broad and intentional public consultation. We've worked very hard to ensure that monitoring and evaluation and accountability processes are embedded within it. Responsibility and accountability for implementation falls not just on one government department, but across senior leaders in all relevant departments. We have a group that meets quarterly, so we're really trying to keep ourselves accountable and to ensure impact. Similar to the approach that Kenya have taken, our defence forces also have their own specific action plan. And one of the aims of this is to increase participation of our peacekeeping operations and to ensure that gender perspectives are brought to bear in operations, planning and training of our military at home and abroad. And in Ireland, we're driven on this WPS agenda, we're driven not only by our conviction and our overall commitment to gender equality as both an objector and a driver of sustainable peace and development, but also by our own experience. In Ireland, we believe because we've seen it work. We've seen and benefited from the crucial role that women can play in difficult, protracted peace negotiations and in building sustainable peace. The cross-community and cross-generational work of women peace builders on the island of Ireland continues to make a real difference. But our partnership approach also recognises that men and boys are integral to the WPS agenda. Having visible and vocal male engagement and champions is important at local, national, regional and global level. And it's wonderful to see His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, taking that leadership role today. As Kenya reflects on the past 4 years of your National Action Plan and looks to the future, we're ready to work hand in hand with you. In our work in Kenya and the Horn of Africa more we're delighted to have a number of strategic partnerships through which we promote inclusive governance and peace building. For example, we work with UN Women and the OHCHR in Bungoma and Vihiga counties to amplify women's voices and participation in decision-making processes in governance, peace and security at local level. We also engage with women peace activists in Sudan and Somalia. A few months ago, I had the very great privilege of visiting West Pokot to see the positive impact on the ground of a climate and peace project that we have with local women's groups on which we've worked with International Alert, adopting approaches which reduce the risk of climate change exacerbating conditions that threaten peace and security and women's own security. Yesterday, I was very honoured to host a girl takeover where 2 high school students, aged 15 and 17, from Machakos and Homa Bay, took over my office as ambassador for the day. And this initiative is part of Plan International's excellent work supporting and inspiring female leaders of tomorrow. And I think in talking to those 2 students, Patience and Shireel, the continued importance of the WPS agenda and the continued need for delivery was clear. But so too was the hope for the future. I don't think anyone could have failed to have been impressed. These wonderful, bright, young Kenyan women who wanted to make a difference in their own community and to ensure that Kenya and Africa continues to make a difference with regional and global leadership on these key issues. So as we reflect on 24 years of Resolution 1325 and look to the next 24 years and beyond, Ireland will continue to lend our strong support to international efforts to drive gender equality and to champion, and that we do. We look forward to continuing our strong partnership with the Government of Kenya in the area of women, peace and security at this critical time in the region and in the world. For all countries, for all communities, if we fail to hear and to heed women's voices, we all lose. But if we include women and listen to their voices and turn it into action and impact, we all win. So thank you all very much. We're looking forward to a very fruitful discussion today on this important agenda, and I think to looking even more at how we can work together productively into the future on this very important issue. Asantini Sana, thank you.
Yeah. And let's give another round of applause. Thank you very much. So at this point, we'll call upon the Deputy Commissioner and Development Director, a British High Commission. Karibu sana, Madam Leigh Stubblefield. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I will stand on protocols already observed. So thank you. It's such a great honour and pleasure to join this gathering on behalf of the United Kingdom. Firstly, I'd just like to recognise all the excellent women here today, including all our sisters and friends who've travelled from so far away to join us, and also our male allies who are helping talented women to break the glass ceiling and are dedicating your time and expertise on this challenging yet rewarding issue of peace and security. And to our hosts, thank you for convening us all, and although I won't single anyone out specifically, I would really like to thank the Prime Cabinet Secretary for prioritising this event in your busy schedule and your leadership on this really important agenda. My colleague from UN Women highlighted that the evidence is definite on women's participation in peace building, conflict prevention and resolution efforts. That it increases the likelihood of successful and sustainable outcomes. Sadly, though, there has been no real increase in women's participation in peace processes since 2000, when this resolution was signed. We know this is challenging work, and we need to focus, though, on what we have achieved. Because if we don't celebrate success, we were just talking about this before we came into the room, if we don't celebrate those successes, sometimes it can feel like we're not making progress. But I just wanted to say, I'm really proud of everything that collectively in this room we're achieving, and we need to celebrate those successes. So although these events might not feel quite like progress, it's really important that we're here and that you step back and you celebrate what you are all achieving. And we're very, very proud of that. We're achieving progress here in Kenya. And the UK stands ready to support the development of Kenya's third Women, Peace and Security Action Plan through the reInvent programme. And just a huge thanks to reInvent colleagues who are also here today. So I've seen for myself, I was formerly, before I came to this role, I was the director of the new conflict director for the FCDO, and so WPS sat in my patch, and it's something that I really care about. So I was delighted to visit Wajir recently and see that is getting louder. Sorry, let me step away. I thought it might be me. Okay, that's great. Okay, and see the beneficiaries of reInvent and the Borderlands project. Deris Wanag, I think colleagues are here today, so Good Neighbourliness in Wajir hosted us, and I was lucky enough to meet representatives of the Wajir Women's Council. I'm not sure if colleagues are here today. I really do hope that they are, but it was an absolute pleasure to listen to their testimonies and hear their real achievements in women's empowerment and inclusion, particularly in the political space. I'd also like to recognise one of our invitees, who I'm not also sure is here, but Mr. Shi Kupi Shi from Lamu County Government. He's the Director of Peacebuilding and Disaster Management and is an awardee of the 2024 Trailblazer Award by the Ministry of Gender, Culture, Art and Heritage for promoting women and children's peace and security along the Kenya-Somalia border. I'm not sure if he is here. I don't want to put him on the spot and ask him to stand, but if he is, I'd just like to celebrate that success. If not, don't worry, I would not want to be asked to stand up in a room full of people either. So finally, I'd just also like to flag, as previous colleagues, including the Irish Ambassador, said, the work of our defence partnership here and the British support team in Africa, where the UK works with partners and allies across Africa to collaborate on mainstreaming gender issues and promoting women's participation in African missions, including reducing sexual and gender-based violence and sexual exploitation and abuse where peace support operations are deployed. As I said, we know there is more to do. In the context of the global rollback on women's and girls' rights, we need to take urgent and coordinated action, notably through the empowerment of women's rights organisations, activists and peace builders, and embedding WPS language into country or thematic resolutions. We need to get the building blocks right to give women and girls the opportunities required to play a role in this process. This is the work that you are all doing, and it's such a pleasure to be here today and to hear a bit more about it. But the UK, just to reassure you, the UK remains committed to continue working together with Kenya and all of you here today. Thank you again to our hosts for convening us, and thank you to all of you for coming and spending your time at this really important event. I wish you every success. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. I just want to test this other mic, if it's okay. Thank you very much. You can hear me? All right. Okay, we wanted to get this fixed. I think it's okay. All right. So let's give another round of applause, please. So at this point, I'd like to call upon the Head of Cooperation, Embassy of Denmark, Mr. Henrik Lansen. Karibu sana. Most welcome.
Recognizing the presence of Your Excellency Prime Cabinet Secretary Mr. Davadi, and just also again recognizing all the organizers of this amazing event. Would just like to also initially also acknowledge Kenya's work on women, peace and security, having developed and adopted 2 national action plans on the UN Security Council Resolution 1325. I think actually Denmark was actually the first country in the world to develop a national action plan. We are currently on our 5th one, and actually also doing regular formal evaluations of our national action plans. And I think one of the things that are coming out of these evaluations is really that, you know, you get what you put resources into. And I think that also goes for Denmark. It's a lesson that we are also continuously learning. But I think these action plans have really reaffirmed the right of Kenyan women to participate in all aspects of peace and security processes in the country. Let me just briefly touch on 3 points. First is about Denmark's commitment to the priority of women, peace and security. We consider ourselves a reliable partner for peace, and we are dedicated to conflict prevention and peace building. We remain focused on addressing the root causes of conflict, including the effect linkages between women, peace and security. Women, peace and security is first and foremost a high security and foreign policy priority for the Danish government. The current Danish action plan on WPS has a strong focus on promoting women's full, equal and meaningful participation in all aspects of peace and security work, and also includes efforts to prevent and combat sexual violence against women and girls in conflict situations and humanitarian crises. Kenya, Denmark, among other, through our bilateral engagements with the Active Consortium, seeks to promote resilience and stability by curbing violent extremism and preventing crises that arise from man-made and natural crises. These include a unique focus on the role of women in promoting peace and security in the country. My second point is closely related to the first one and relates to the election of Denmark as a non-permanent member of the Security Council for 25 and 26. This, of course, in itself is an indication of a strong and long-lasting commitment to the UN and to international cooperation. As a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, Denmark will, as a cross-cutting priority, defend international law, including international humanitarian law, and work for a more accountable, effective, and representative Security Council. And additionally, as thematic priorities, Denmark will work to adapt the Security Council's conflict responses and prevention to new realities. We will work to address the effects of climate change on peace and security, and as the third main priority, to implement the Women, Peace and Security agenda. So in that regard, we really hope to continue the good work of both our Irish colleagues and our Kenyan colleagues. The thematic focus on women, peace and security, as well as climate, peace and security, relate to topics that feature prominently in Denmark's general foreign policy profile, in the Nordic UN brand, and also in EU's strategic partnership with the UN. These opportunities also contain good opportunities for cooperation with other elected members of the Security Council. And this also includes, amongst other, Somalia, who are increasingly concerned also on the theme of women, peace and security. And lastly, I would just want to mention, of course, our recognition that development is about partnership. Denmark seeks solutions through partnership and dialogue. Dialogue and partnership is the foundation for moving the agenda of women, peace and security forward. Not just at this very overall prominent and regional level, but also at the localized level. This is where we truly move the women, peace and security agenda forward. We recognize and appreciate the amazing work that all the partners here are doing. So ending there and just looking forward to an insightful discussion, and thank you very much. Asante sana.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another round of applause, please, for him. Yeah, so at this point, we'll call upon Ambassador of Finland to Kenya, none other than Ambassador Pirkka Tapiola. Karibu sana. Most welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I need a bit of space here, sir. Your Excellency, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretaries, Principal Secretaries, diplomatic colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to be here to address this high-level regional forum celebrating the 24th anniversary of the UN Security 25. And I'm particularly delighted to see so many delegates from so many African countries here. That shows your commitment, and it shows how important what we are talking about is. Now, the resolution that next year turns a quarter of a century recognizes the role that women play in conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and peace building. It also calls for the protection of women and girls in conflict and the prevention of sexual and gender-based violence. I cannot underline how important this work is. Anna Mutawadi spoke about the conflicts around the world. We see from Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine to the dramatic, tragic developments in the Middle East, to conflicts in Africa, the suffering which is all around. We cannot, and we need to work, and we need to have 100% of us, women and men, working on resolving conflicts. Now, it goes without saying that Finland is a strong supporter of the Women, Peace and Security agenda. Our recently revised foreign and security policy did not revise Finland's strong commitment to continue to promote the national and international implementation of the resolutions of the UN Security Council on women, peace and security. But let me also, especially in a country with a median age of 19, underline the importance of youth, peace and security, which is another task which we must take. Now, our own fourth National Action Plan extending from 2023 to 2027, was developed in a broad-based stakeholder collaboration. Its key objective is to strengthen women's participation in the area of peace and security, and thereby support efforts to build sustainable peace. Now, Finland and the Republic of Kenya, we have actually a long, fruitful history on 1325. For over a decade, we've supported Kenya in her efforts to drive forward the WPS agenda through development, implementation, and evaluation of Kenya's national action plans, the first and the second one. Let me note that when Kenya was preparing the first one, she got support from Miss Elizabeth Wren, who visited here, who was actually the first female Minister of Defense in Europe. I was going a bit, while preparing this, was she the first one in the world? And then I found a number of presidents and prime ministers, from Indira Gandhi to Sirimavu Bandaranaike, who had sort of actually joined the different roles. So I'll have to say first in Europe, but I think she may have been the first standalone in the world as well. So I'm mentioning that. But going forward, I have to say that I'm really, really impressed by what I see in Kenya. I really applaud the top female leadership in the Kenyan security sector. We have seen present and former cabinet secretaries of defense. And let me also recognize the historic appointment of Major General Fatuma Ahmed as the commander of the Kenya Air Force earlier this year. This is really, really groundbreaking. Now, we can talk about the political level. But it's important to go down to the grassroots level. It's important to think of localization and contextualization of the WPS agenda. And let me note that more than 10 counties across Kenya have successfully developed their UNSCR 1325 county action plans, ensuring that peace and security efforts include women at the grassroots level. The representation of women in county peace committees has increased by 50%, from just 14 in 2017 to a very inspiring 34% in 2023, and I am absolutely certain that we will get beyond that to a 50% at some stage. Now, this agenda is very, very important. And we are looking forward to deepening our collaboration with Kenya in peace mediation as a whole. We've been working on building, together with the Foreign Ministry, Cabinet Secretary, Prime Cabinet Secretary, we've been working on building Kenya's peace mediation capacities to benefit the region more broadly. Kenya is a leader in this region, and she needs to be a leader in this region. Inclusivity will be one leading principle. Put on my regional hat, because I'm ambassador to a couple of other countries as well. And I was delighted to see our friends from Somalia, because I've been working very, very much on this remarkable country. Now, in Somalia, strengthening women's roles in building peace and security is really crucial. The launching of Somalia's National Action Plan on WPS in 2022 was a very welcome step, a very important step in this regard. The goal is to ensure the participation of Somali women in peace building, the security sector, and decision-making at all levels. And I have great confidence in the role Somali women can play. We support Somalia's WPS agenda, and we encourage the federal government of Somalia to continue its important efforts to promote and protect the rights of Somali women and girls. Currently, 5 local WPS action plans have been launched by the federal member states. This demonstrates a strong commitment also at the local level, and a very important commitment. The promotion of rights of women and girls and their agency in peace and security is a priority for Finland globally, and specifically in Somalia. We have supported women's participation in peace building, reconciliation processes, and politics. We have also supported legislation promoting women's rights, as well as the Sexual Offences Bill and FGM, anti-FGM legislation. Sustainable peace and security in Somalia can only be achieved with the full and equal participation of women. And I would like to thank the representatives of Somalia for being here and for your support in advancing the WPS agenda. Now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, through our core funding, and we're one of the major core funders to UN Women, we have supported UN Women's peace-building operations courses for regional and global participants held at the International Peace Support Training Center in Karen. Let me also pay tribute to the director of that center, Brigadier Joyce Sitine, another very strong female leader in the security sector. I love working with her, and she really has shown great leadership. These courses prepare military women for their deployment in UN peacekeeping operations. We continue as Finland to play an active role in advancing the rights of women and girls. In Kenya, we are currently the chair of the Development Partners Gender Group, where we coordinate the efforts of the international community in advancing gender equality in various sectors, and peace and security are particularly close to my heart. And next year will also be a landmark year as we take stock of the Beijing Declaration and platform for action after 30 years of implementation. History has shown that the path to gender equality and fulfillment of women's rights is not linear, but requires constant nurturing and protection. We need to stay vigilant. Therefore, we purposefully in our foreign and security policy, as well as our trade and development policy. Finally, in conclusion, I would like to thank the government of Kenya for their leadership and all the partners for hosting this regional high-level experience-sharing meeting to reflect our progress and our strategies to further advance the Women, Peace and Security agenda. Asanteni sana.
Your Excellency. Now, at this point, allow me to recognize Senegal again. They are in the room. Senegal, you can just stand and wave. Karibu sana. We had earlier on recognized you. And also not to leave behind members of the Fourth Estate. I can see you are all here in the room. Karibuni sana, and thank you for your good work. Now, at this point, I'm humbled, and I want us to put our hands together for none other than our host and my boss, and this is the Principal Secretary, State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action, Madam Anne Wangombe. Karibu sana. Let's give her a hand of applause. Until she arrives, please, let's give her a hand. You could have this one.
Our chief guest, Prime Cabinet Secretary, also the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, all protocols observed. Good morning. Good morning once more, ladies and gentlemen. So, Your Excellency, we are so honored to have you this morning. We know that your schedules are very tight, but you found time to come and be with us this morning. So we are so honored and we are so grateful. This is a clear demonstration of your commitment to the gender agenda. Please, let's put our hearts together for our Prime Cabinet Secretary. It's also good to mention that he's currently our Cabinet Secretary. So we are so honored. I brag a lot, whenever I'm out there saying that my immediate boss is the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Another clap. So it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important regional meeting here in our beautiful city of Nairobi, the only capital city in the world that has a park in it. We have a national park within the city. I repeat, the only capital city in the world that has a national park in it. So if you find time, please visit our national park. It has lions, buffaloes, leopards, etc. to mention but a few. We also have other very interesting historical and tourist attraction sites. So as the Principal Secretary for GEDA, I'm honored to stand before such an esteemed gathering of leaders, partners, and stakeholders who are committed to advancing gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls in our region. Before we proceed, allow me to recognize the following. One is Ambassador of Finland. I know you had been recognized before, but allow me to recognize you once more. Allow me to recognize the Ambassador of Ireland, Ambassador of Zimbabwe, the Deputy Commissioner, British High Commission, Head of Cooperation, Embassy of Denmark, representative from the High Commission of Canada, Country Representative, UN Women, Country Director, JICA, President's Advisor on Women Rights, Honorable Harriet Chigai, Chairperson and FGM Board, the UN Global Office for Security Council. We also have a representative from Dr. Monica Juma's office, National Security Advisor to the President. Just to add to the list that Ambassador mentioned, that is, we have leadership in the security space. The advisor to the President on national security is also a lady. Yeah. So I would also want to take a moment to recognize and extend a warm welcome to all our esteemed guests, including the distinguished country representatives from across the region, especially to the grassroots women leaders present here today. Your invaluable contributions to the women peace and security agenda has the backbone of our efforts. Your presence here, therefore, underscores the importance of inclusive dialogue and action at every level. This meeting comes at a very crucial time as we continue to strive for a more inclusive, equitable, and just society. Gender equality is not only a fundamental right, but also a prerequisite for achieving sustainable development. When women and girls are empowered, entire communities thrive, economies grow, and nations prosper. The inclusion of women in peace building and conflict resolution is not just an issue of gender equality, it is a matter of ensuring sustainable peace. Women are powerful agents of change, and their leadership in peace processes lead to more lasting and inclusive outcomes for communities and nations. This meeting provides a platform for us all to reflect, share ideas, and strategize on how we can strengthen our efforts in implementing the women, peace, and security agenda across the region. I encourage each and every one of you to engage actively throughout the sessions, as your contributions are vital to the success of this initiative. We must ensure that the voices of all stakeholders are heard and that the solutions we propose are broad, comprehensive, and inclusive. At this juncture, allow me to invite Honorable Harriet Chigai, Advisor to the President of the Republic of Kenya on Women's Rights, to make brief remarks and thereafter invite our chief guest to deliver the keynote address. Let's put our heads together for Honorable Harriet.
In my office, we say you clap until the speaker arrives. So I demand you continue clapping until she sits down. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Why do we look so sad on such a beautiful day? For some reason, my speech has disappeared. Okay. My name is Harriet Chigai. I'm the Women Rights Advisor to the President of the Republic of Kenya. And today, I must say, I'm truly, truly honored to be here, especially to discuss matters of women in peace and security. The chief guest, Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, and now I believe the acting Cabinet Secretary for Matters Gender, since the docket is still open. The PS Gender, my good sister, I must say I'm truly proud that you have put this initiative together. I think it was timely. The development partners present, I must say thank you very much for ensuring that the issues to do with gender and the discussions around women and matters children are still at the table. So thank you very much for ensuring that we are here this morning, and I must say we do appreciate the work that you're doing with the Ministry of Gender. Please clap for the development partners. The members of the diplomatic corps, I must also say thank you very much for not only taking your time out to be with us this day, but for always being there whenever we call upon you. So thank you sana and karibu sana. Thank you very much and karibu sana. So good morning, everyone. To you too, it is profound that you have found time to be here. When I was invited to be here today, I thought we were going to have a small caucus meeting, but I'm truly surprised to find that the hall is full, and I can also see widows are represented in this room. I can see Diana there. Let us clap. Good morning once again. So like I said, it gives me profound joy to be here today to participate together with all of you, leaders in shaping the space for women in peace and security. This discussion has come at the right time when the world is dealing with different levels of insecurity and conflicts that are rife. If we go to DRC, Congo, Somali, Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, Haiti, and other countries, we cannot say that this discussion has come at a better time. It is encouraging to see the great efforts that the UN is making, all the partners, Kenya and other countries, towards restoring peace in the conflict-prone areas. Kenya leads in sub-Saharan Africa in putting in office key persons in leadership. I must applaud the government of Kenya for putting women in leadership positions to speak on matters security. My counterpart, Ambassador Monica Juma, I was hoping to see her here today. We have General Fatma. We have the CS currently on matters national defense, Soipan Tuya, just to mention but a few. So this demonstrates that Kenya is actually leading within sub-Saharan Africa in showcasing and ensuring that women are actually at the decision-making table. Women and children are the biggest casualties of conflict in the world. Over the years, Kenya has experienced various conflicts, including inter-ethnic clashes, political violence, terrorism, and these conflicts has disproportionately affected women and children over time. Women experiences in armed conflicts are often distinct due to their gender roles and societal expectations, the unique challenges they face, including highest risk of sexual violence being used as a weapon of war. They face limited access to prenatal and postnatal care, limited access to contraceptives and menstrual hygiene products, decreases milk production for lactating mothers, and the heavy burden of being the primary caregivers of the members of the community during warring time. The question we ask ourselves is, can we stop the guns? Existing data shows that women were included. If women were included, only 13% in peace negotiation teams. However, when women participate, the likelihood of reaching a peace agreement increases to about 35%. Once peace agreement is reached, a study by the Council on Foreign Relations found that peace agreements are at 64% less likely to fail where women have been involved. With these kinds of pro-women statistics, what then is hindering women from being key stakeholders in peace and security? We have tried to dig deep, and we found the current data that we have goes back to 2021, where globally women held only about 24% national parliament seats worldwide, which limits their influence on security, policies, and regulations across the globe. In Kenya, as of 2023, women at the National Assembly were 3.8%. Women representative about 6% within the military forces and around 15% within the police and in the UN peacekeeping missions. The question is why? The National Gender and Equality Commission has also given a report that states women are underrepresented in security forces. As of recent years, women make about 10% of the Kenya Defense Forces and approximately 30% of the Kenya Police Forces. We have not gone yet to the private security firms. It is therefore profound to see the data sets and comprehend the reason for diminished gender-responsive actions in peace resolutions. However, there is still need for proper data on the same issues. So then, can we develop our solutions and what we are looking for within the various data sets and find solutions within real-time data? We acknowledge some of the milestones made by Kenya in increasing women participation in peace and security. The second Kenya National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security was launched in 2023. We are now in 2024. I'm sure there's another document. Kenya signed the GF commitment in 2021 with a commitment of ending GBV and FGM by 2006. Take note, the President sits as the chair of the GBV committee within Generation Equality Forum. The affirmative action, Article 27 on 2/3 gender rule in our constitution, this particular issue has to cut across board, both within the private and the public sector. The gender policy by the Ministry of Defense is also a good plus on matters progress that we have made. We laud the numerous efforts put in place by various state actors, such as the UN Security Council, the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, the Maputo Protocol, the CEDAW, the Beijing Platform for Action, the recently launched UN Women Compact on Women, Peace and Security and Humanitarian Action, and the NAPS by the Tanzania and Ethiopian governments, among others. It is now time to challenge ourselves to go a notch higher and accelerate the realization of gender equality, women's empowerment, and participation in order to enrich the outcomes of conflict resolutions. Part of the deliberations actions we must take include domestication of international standards, develop and implement domestic laws and policies that align with the international standards on women. We must align. Review reforms of existing laws, promote women's participation in peace processes. How do we go about that? That's a question that this team needs to answer by the time we are done with this conference. We need to address gender-based violence to restore the confidence of women to take up decision-making spaces. Enhance conflict-based peace-building initiatives. How do we create safe spaces, safe homes, safe environments for our women and children? Enhance community-based peace-building initiatives. Strengthen the role of security forces. By implementing these strategies, we can signify, advance the women, peace, and security agenda and create a more inclusive and equitable society. Allow me to mention the few women who have participated in peace building. We all know the late Wangari Maathai, Leiman Gabo, and Graca Machel. Their name precedes the work that they did. We also have male inclusion. Kofi Annan played a key role in peace and security. It is therefore important that as a conclusion of this conference, we must make profound resolutions which have far-reaching positive effect to the communities. We must increase the number of women in decision-making processes. Feminist foreign policy and national policies should not only be developed in full, but we need to implement them. Men inclusion, very important. We need to have men inclusion as good allies for matters gender and women's rights in this country. We need to increase the funding within this space. As we take stock, allow me to say that we look forward to a fruitful deliberations and profound resolutions coming from this conference. I'm done, you can clap. It is now my solemn duty and with a lot of humility to welcome our chief guests, and let us all be upstanding as we welcome our chief guests, His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi.
Thank you. You can be seated. Okay. Thank you, Madam Harriet Chigai. The Principal Secretary, Anne Wangombe, my namesake from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, Zimbabwe, yes, Anna Mutavati. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners present, esteemed members of the Women, Peace and Security Committee, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, and also let me recognize that in this room we have, she's seated somewhere, Lena Chebi. Where is she? Thank you. We were in Parliament together, and I singled her out because she has been a great champion against FGM. Thank you for being with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to join you here for this high-level regional forum commemorating the 24th anniversary of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. Let me, on behalf of the government and the people of Kenya, appreciate you for choosing Nairobi as the venue of this important conference. I presume it is not just for our renowned hospitality, but more so because Nairobi has been at the heart of many significant regional and global peace initiatives. The theme of this regional gathering reflects the momentous advances made since this landmark resolution was made in October 2020, and the journey ahead in advancing the women, peace and security, peace and inclusivity in East and Southern Africa. Awareness of the unprecedented humanitarian crisis due to escalating wars and conflicts in several regions, including Sudan, South Sudan, parts of Western Africa, the Horn of Africa, Russia and Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon. And last night it was clear that perhaps we may see it spreading to Iran. Furthermore, it reminds us that women bear the heaviest burden of this crisis and also play a vital role in conflict prevention, peace negotiations, peace building, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, and post-conflict reconstruction. Our collective success as a continent, including achieving the African Union's Agenda 2063 and silencing the guns by 2030, hinges on the meaningful inclusion of women in these conflict management processes. We must reflect on the journey we have traveled and amplify the call to action for the full participation and leadership of women in fostering sustainable peace. Countries worldwide have developed national action plans to implement the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, raising awareness of the unique challenges women face in conflict and post-conflict settings. In Kenya and many African countries, women are included as key stakeholders in peace processes, with their voices being heard in negotiations and decision-making. I will assure you that Kenya fully supports this global agenda. We have already embarked on the development of Kenya's third National Action Plan, that is the NAP 3. This gives us an opportunity to leverage on our past achievement to define a more constructive engagement of women in future peace processes. The road ahead demands even greater ambition, strategy, and inclusivity. We must localize efforts, strengthen accountability, and establish robust mechanisms for tracking progress, measuring impact, and holding actors accountable for their actions. With real-time data, transparent reporting, and dedicated funding, we can ensure that we are achieving tangible results. As the global security landscape evolves, we must ensure that women's voices shape responses to these emerging threats, especially those related to climate security. Integrating these issues into our national action plans ensures that we as governments and stakeholders prioritize them in countries. While we acknowledge the progress made, we must also confront the challenges that remain. Women continue to be disproportionately affected by conflict and are often targeted by violence and marginalization. Furthermore, women's participation in peace processes in many regions remains limited. Hence, their needs and perspectives are still often overlooked in post-conflict reconstruction. Proliferation of small arms and light weapons compounds these challenges as it poses a serious threat to peace and security in our region. These easily accessible and often unregulated weapons fuel violence, exacerbate conflicts, and destabilize communities. They perpetuate cycles of violence that make women and children more vulnerable to harm. As we address these challenges, we must work together to regulate and prevent the proliferation of small arms, ensuring safety and stability in our region. The growing recognition of the intersectionality between gender, peace, and security offers a unique moment to deepen our commitments and ensure that the principles of the Resolution 1325 are fully realized. Women have a long tradition as peace builders. From the South Sudan to Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, you name it, women have played critical roles in mediating conflicts and advocating for peace and rebuilding communities. This legacy of African women in peace building is a testament to the power of their resilience, courage, and leadership. Continue to broaden the base for the inclusion of women at all levels of peace and security efforts, not just as participants, but as leaders and decision makers. Let us look into the future with confidence. We must build on this legacy to ensure that African women are not only included in peace processes, but their leadership is recognized and institutionalized. This requires the support of all stakeholders, governments, civil society, regional organizations, international partners, and local communities. As we move forward, let us remember that Resolution 1325 is not just a resolution for women, it is for all of us. It is a call to action for a more inclusive, just, and peaceful world. We must renew our commitments to implementing the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda. This includes ensuring that women's voices are central to peace processes, their rights are protected in conflict, and that they have the resources and support they need to lead. To our partners, your support remains essential and critical. We need sustained support from you in drafting and implementation of Kenya's third National Action Plan. This plan is not just a government priority, but a key step for Kenya to advance the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda. Allow me to conclude by expressing my deepest appreciation to all of you for your and commitment to advancing the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda. Your work is vital not only for the women and girls of today, but for future generations. I wish you all fruitful deliberations during this conference, and I am certain that your insights and collaborations will strengthen our collective efforts towards peace and security in the region. Let us be inspired and continue this critical work with renewed vigor and determination. Together, let us ensure that the promise of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 is fully realized. As I end, I kept on repeating a couple of things. The issue about resources and all that. And we must realize that governments must perhaps institutionalize some gender sensitivity analysis of their budgets and be able to figure out that in the resource allocation, as we look at our priorities, to what extent can we say that these resources are directed and targeted to issues that are sensitive to women? I speak to this because we cannot, in dealing with the women's agenda on Africa, continue to be speaking about development partners supporting us. If we truly believe that our women in Africa and globally are important, and let me just focus on Africa, then let us start with our own parliaments. Let us start with our own county assemblies. How gender sensitive are the budgets that they approve, that they formulate and approve? Because this business of saying that we shall always depend on our partners is dangerous. There is something that is called donor fatigue. And we could reach a point where we might come into contact with the donor fatigue sooner than later. So it is important as people from the continent of Africa, where a lot of these conflicts are emerging, conference show the way forward on this very critical agenda. Thank you. Asante sana.
We really want to thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the very profound speech. We are so grateful. And we have a small gift for you. It is our appreciation for your commitment to the gender agenda. Thank you so much. Kindly receive it. Thank you. That's sorry. We are thanking you, and what we have, it's written is WPS UNSCR 1325 gender. Thank you so much. Can somebody? Your Excellency, we request that we take a photo with you, and our MC is going to guide us on how we are going to get this done.
Thank you very much, Madam PS. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we appreciate His Excellency, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, for the great inspiring notes, remarks that you've given us. We will take a couple of photos, Your Excellency. The first one will be with the PS, so we request that you look straight into the camera. And as they take that photo, allow me to welcome and mention the next lineup. His Excellency will remain on stage as all ambassadors